Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review of the Expanse Season 2, Episode 5, Home. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of the Expanse, so I'll have to start by giving a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen up to Season 2, Episode 5 of the Expanse, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So, wow, like, holy shit. I think The Expanse is now officially one of my all-time favorite TV shows. I was totally blown away by this episode. This episode was just amazing from start to finish, and that ending, my god. Okay, I'll get into this shortly. But let me start by saying, like, I'm a bit surprised that this is like episode 5 of season 2. This seemed like a season ender to me. I haven't read the books, and maybe those who have can tell me, but this seems like this is where the first book would have ended, because I know that they said that the season 2 will cover like the end of the first book and then start to get into the second book, and it seems like this would be a natural ending point, and it's a bit surprising to me that they didn't end season 1 here, but I suppose they wanted, shorter seasons or whatever, and then they have a plan. This makes me hopeful that they have a plan, and I hope that season 2 can keep this momentum and get even better, because I can't imagine it ending any better than this, but hopefully I'm wrong and it does get even better from here on and it doesn't kind of dip, which would be a bit disappointing, but this is so good. Okay, so first off, like when I said last week I wasn't that interested in the Arrows storyline, well, totally interested now. I think the way it started, like last week's episode was a pretty good setup, but this week sort of built off that even more, because it started with Miller trapped on Arrows, and then Naomi coming up with plans to try to destroy the station and get Miller off, and you're thinking the whole time, well, that's going to work. Because last week I was thinking, I thought that Miller was actually going to die when that Mormon ship was going to ram the Arrows, but when that didn't happen, I'm like, they can't commit to killing off Miller, they're going to keep him around. Well, apparently not. Apparently they can't commit to killing off Miller, and I'll get into that a bit, because who knows that Miller's actually dead, because we thought Julie Mao was dead, and we get her in this episode, so who knows if we'll see Miller again. I don't know. Those who read the books will know the answer, but don't tell me, because I don't want to know. I'll find out next week. But when Arrows hit Venus, I'm curious, if I saw, did one of those missiles hit it? Did the Fred Johnson redirect the missiles to hit? I don't think so. I think I'm just, I thought I saw a missile hit it, but I think it would just impact it on the planet. And now, if that was the case, then I think the proto-molecule is still alive, because this is what it wanted to do. It's not committing suicide. Its plan was originally to hit Earth, and when Miller tried to convince Julie Mao not to go to Earth, she's like, but we have work to do, and Miller's like, no, you can do your work on Venus. The work will continue. So that says to me that the proto-molecule is still following through with his plan. It's just going to do it on Venus, where it's not going to kill an entire population of people, rather than Earth, but it's still going to progress and grow in some way. And if we're going to assume that Miller and Julie Mao are now part of the proto-molecule, then perhaps Miller will still be around in some fashion. I don't know, technically couldn't survive an impact like that, but you never know with science fiction. But he won't be around as in the capacity, as a main character, as he has been in the show. So that much is certain. So he's pretty much off the show, even if he does appear in some form in the future. We're pretty much done with Miller. And this was a very extremely satisfying close to his storyline. And I gotta say, the whole storyline of him walking through Arrows and with that bomb. I mean, that bomb was such a nice touch, even though nothing actually ever became of the bomb. But it was so cool. He referred to it as like his pet nuclear bomb. Here's my pet. It was funny because he had to keep patting it every once in a while before, or it would blow off. And that was a really nice touch too. And I love how when he was actually talking to Julie Mao and she was being a bit loopy, a bit crazy, like, oh, I just want to go home, that he let that bomb like go beat for a really long time, and you're thinking he's just gonna let it explode. And I'm sure that's what he was thinking. I think he was considering it, but at the last second he was like, nah, and put his hand back on it. That was so awesome. That was so great the way it was handled. And of course, alright, now let me get into this. The whole scene with Miller and Julie Mao. I mean, this was pure gold. This was amazing. This is like cinematic stuff. It reminded me a bit of Battlestar Galactica with the music that they were using, but even better in my opinion. And it also reminded me a bit of like the whole theme of Miller sort of joining with Julie, and it was his sort of consciousness that got them to move to Venus. It's reminded me a bit of the ending of Star Trek, the motion picture. And, come on. Don't be upset about spoilers. This movie is like 35 years old. But yeah, because in that movie, you got Captain Decker and what's her face? Can't remember her name. But anyway, they were lovers, and she was a part of this machine. So he joined the machine to be with his lover, and is kind of similar to what happened here. Even though like Miller and Julie Mao weren't actually lovers because they didn't know each other in real life, but they had this connection. It was interesting to see that connection played because you saw in the flashbacks and at the end of season 1 in Julie's. Right before she died, she saw a vision of Miller and the bird. And it was interesting seeing that bird, like in the blue thing in this scene here. So she had this sort of psychic connection to him, and that's why it sort of made sense when she was like, you belong with me, even though technically she doesn't know this guy. There's some sort of connection that the show hasn't explained yet. And he obviously, fell in love with her through his investigation. His whole purpose of being involved in the storyline was because of her. It was at first to find her, and then it was to get revenge. So when he was wandering through the station and hearing the voices, he started to click to him that it was actually Julie's voice. It made total sense that he would just want to go to her regardless of how much like he's actually putting himself at more risk. And it was, just the whole way it played out with him talking like much, it's very cinematic stuff. The music, the cinematography, like all the special effects with like the blue glowing stuff. And you can tell like when Miller took off his mask that he was at that point decided to join with the proto-molecule because he decided, well, not the proto-molecule in particular, but with Julie, but through the proto-molecule, like she decided there was this destiny to be with Julie, and that's what his whole storyline has been building towards. So again, it's an amazing ending for Miller. In fact, I do think this would have been better as a season finale, but oh well. It will be interesting, though, to see the aftermath of this and what happens in the wake of it, because it was getting into the whole Avasarala storyline with her on Earth. That was really interesting too. How they, Eris just started speeding towards Earth like really fast, and so they came up with this plan to launch missiles, but the plan failed because Eris sort of just stealthed itself or something and made it so the missiles couldn't lock on, and so they had to team up with Fred Johnson. And it was interesting that Avasarala stuck her head out for him, and it's like, oh well, let's trust him. We can trust Holden. And she's like, and I wonder if this is going to bite her in the ass because, well, it's interesting because when Holden, like, they had to give up and stop chasing the asteroid and just trust Miller could do his thing, it was interesting that he's like, just let the missiles go. And Fred Johnson was like, well, Earth is going to think this is all a scheme. They're going to blame it on us. They're going to think this is a scheme to steal the missiles. And here's how I look at it. I think, like, to me, thinking about it, like, if the missiles just explode harmlessly in space, or if somehow they give control back to Earth, then that will convince Earth it wasn't a scheme for Fred Johnson to steal the missiles. But if he does actually steal them and use them to blow a target, or they disappear and can't be found, then Earth will think it was a scheme for him to steal the missiles. So I think the smart thing for him to do would be to return to just either destroy the missiles harmlessly in space, or somehow return control to Earth. But I have a feeling like he had his first, his number one, his second in command there, and she was obviously very, impressed with the power of these missiles, and he told her to do something with the missiles. So I have a feeling that she might be doing something with the missiles to further their goals, and if that's the case, then he would just screw Fred Johnson up, because then if she does do anything like that, or steal the missiles or anything, then Earth will pretty much want to go to war with them, and that will totally fuck up the relations. And what would that do for Ava Sorella, who stuck her head out for him and vouched for him? So it's interesting. It could go in that sort of direction. But the whole thing with Holden and their storyline with the chasing, trying to capture Miller, and I love the way Naomi went to bat for Miller, and when Alex was like, "Oh, we're gonna die. We could die if we try to dock whatever." She's like, "He's risking his ass. We need to do the same." That was awesome, and it was awesome the way that Holden was they had to strap in and chase them, go really fast, and have all these G's. I love, this show uses hard science fiction to an advantage, because it has it's realistic rather than just going warp drive and step on the gas and it's fine. You see the effects of trying to go this fast, and they say how it can literally kill them. But it was interesting that they did sort of, at the end, they trusted Miller when he said, "Just stop following me. I can do it," because they knew that if they did follow them, they would probably just die and not succeed anyway. So if Miller had another plan, then it probably had a higher chance of success, because the one they had would result in them all dying and probably wouldn't work. So that made sense. And it was also, of course, touching when they were all drinking, a toast to Miller as, the asteroid, clashed with Venus. That was just, great episode. Not much more I can say about it. Absolutely loved it. So I'll give my rating out of 10, and if you haven't guessed, my rating out of 10 is a 10, the best. Oh my god, this episode was it was so amazing. It blew my mind. I wanted to watch that final scene with Miller and Julie Mao, because that was the best conclusion they could have came up to that storyline. Just the whole way it played out, the tension with the arrows speeding towards Earth. This episode was a pinnacle in storytelling. I gotta say, The Expanse is one of my all-time favorite shows now. Maybe it's hyperbole. I don't know. They could fuck it up if it sort of goes downhill after here. But this whole season has been such good quality. I have faith in the show to continue this amount of quality, even if the next episode isn't as good as this one, which it probably won't be, because it can't keep up this momentum. They have to, next week's gotta sort of take a breath and sort of start to set up the next storyline, which is good. That's great. It's what I'm expecting. Hopefully the finale of season 2 can be this good. I don't know. We'll see. But I have faith in this episode, this show, I'll just say, because, I'm totally blown away with everything I've seen in season 2 so far. So, that's it for my review of The Expanse, season 2, episode 5. Be sure to check back here. Not every week, but as much as I can, I will review episodes of The Expanse. Also, be sure to check out my channel, where I do videos for many other shows like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, Black Sails, The 100, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all that. Thanks a lot for watching.